All right, we are live in beautiful, sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, we are going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 113, uh, Nelson versus Ponzinibio in Glasgow, Scotland. And man, so when it comes to like a European card, it's it's not bad. It's not the worst we've ever seen by any means, but you know, there's probably a lot to be left desired here. There's tons of fights I just weren't even interested at all. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've had an extremely busy week, a lot of shit going on. So there's actually two fights on the card that I didn't do tape for, to be completely honest with you. It's the two fights that have two newcomers, but still going to go through the other 10 or 11, whatever there is. I did do tape on those. And man, even when it comes to betting, like I know I said I was busy this week and there's still two fights I didn't do tape on. I don't think this card's that great for betting, man. Like I only have 4 plays, and you guys know me. I usually have a lot more than that, but I'm super solid on the 4. I feel very comfortable that I'm going to be having a profitable night on Sunday. Speaking of profitable, so this past weekend between the Tough finale and UFC 213, I'll give you my official stats in a second. It wasn't ever so slight profit, man. I lost 4.26 units on the Tough finale, but then I won 5.01 at UFC 213. So overall, it's a 0.75 unit profit, which profit's a profit, man. But obviously, we want to do a little bit better than that, and that's exactly what I plan to do this week, man. I got 4 plays, very confident on them all, and then just a gigantic thank you. You guys absolutely came through in the goal I set for my channel. This past Friday was indeed my birthday, and I did want to have 500 subscribers by the end of my birthday. You guys got that done with about 12, 13 hours left to spare. So big shout out to you guys, man. 500 subscribers is a milestone I did not think I would hit for a much longer time. I've only been on YouTube for about 9-10 months now, so I'm very happy that I was able to pull this off, and I'm glad to have all you guys. I appreciate my fans more than you all know, man. So appreciate it very much, man. And comment below and tell me how long you've been subscribed to me for, man, because it's funny. I started in September of last year. New Year's, I was only at 100 subscribers, and I've gained 400 since New Year's. So, man, it's just been flooding in. So comment below. Tell me how long you've been sub for, and as always, tell me who you're betting on this card, man. But speaking of this card, let's just get right into it. Like I said, busy week, so I'm not going to get in depth with too many of the fights. Probably going to breeze through a lot of them, but obviously the fights I'm betting on, I'll get into those a little bit more. But it looks like the first fight of the night here is a women's bantamweight matchup. We got Leslie Smith minus 175 taking on Amanda Lemos plus 155. Just did tape on Amanda Lemos, and I favor Leslie Smith here. If anything, I actually think the line on Leslie Smith should be a bit bigger. That all being said, I do not want to bet Leslie Smith as a favorite. So when it comes to Lemos, she's 5'4". She's very small for the bantamweight division. She's really not entirely stocky either. I feel like she probably walks around barely above 135 pounds. She could probably make the flyweight division pretty easily, to be honest with you. I was impressed with her Muay Thai. She's got some decent striking in her arsenal. A lot to be desired on the ground and the wrestling, in my opinion. And this is actually her first fight outside of Brazil. So basically, I'm giving the edge to Leslie Smith here. I think she's fought all over the country. She's fought girls way better than Amanda Lemos. Amanda Lemos has never fought a girl with a winning record. I think Lemos can give trouble to Leslie Smith on the feet. Maybe she can outstrike her over the course of 3 rounds. Definitely don't see her finishing the tough Leslie Smith. But then again, man, we saw Rainey Aldana, a very good striker, come into the UFC. We all thought she was going to smoke Leslie Smith on the feet. Leslie Smith smokes Aldana on the feet, so you really never know here. Leslie Smith is a very tough veteran to come in and fight for your UFC debut. So, man, It's kind of tempting, man. Like, I think Leslie Smith is extremely parlayable, and I actually really do recommend that. Personally, for me, man, I just want to keep it tight, and I'm staying away, and I especially want to stay away from these chick fights. But I recommend a parlay piece for Leslie Smith, but I'm not playing it. But I got Leslie via I'll say a 30-27, but a sub would not surprise me. I think Leslie's got quite the big ground advantage here. So official pick, I'll go Leslie Smith 30-27 decision. So moving on here, first bet of the night, man. We do have 13-0 Brett Johns minus 390 taking on Albert the Warrior Morales plus 320. So this one's going to be kind of weird to talk about, man, because I do favor Brett Johns. I think Brett Johns probably is the more solid, well-rounded, more technical martial artist here with the better wins. That all being said, Albert Morales is an easy fight for nobody. This is a guy that gave Thomas Almeida. Thomas Almeida didn't have an easy night with this guy. Sure, he knocked him out in the second round, but wasn't easy. Albert Morales is a tough dude. He earned that nickname, the Warrior. He's got good striking. He's very well-rounded. He's good everywhere. I think Brett Johns has a very tough fight in front of him, and it's gonna take the best Johns to beat Albert Morales, and I think that does happen, man. I think Brett Johns probably can outpoint Albert Morales here over the course of 3 rounds. That all being said, man, I think Albert Morales is going to be the guy throwing more volume. I think he's going to be the guy with more fight in him. I think he's going to be pushing a lot harder than Brett Johns. I feel like he definitely, that nickname, man, I feel like he definitely has a lot more warrior spirit, and it just might take that extra boost for Morales. Like, if they get into some kind of scrambly situation, I feel like Morales will be the guy to never stop pushing and take the advantage over Brett Johns. And man, I'm excited for this fight. I actually think this is a really good fight. Obviously, I think the line is completely off. Plus 320 is just fucking nuts to me. I took the 1 unit shot on Albert Morales. I did fuck up here, but I did not expect this line movement at all. I took a 1 unit shot on Albert Morales at plus 220. So 1 unit to win 2.2. Shout out to Dan Levy. He's quite the patient man, has a lot more patience than I do. He put 2 units on Morales at plus 325 to win 6.5. If Morales cashes, that's going to look real good on him. But yeah, just the 1 unit for me, plus 220. I feel like Brett Johns should only be somewhere around the minus 150 range. So line's off, man. So got to take that shot. But realistically, I do think Brett Johns probably gets this done, I'll say, via a 29-28 decision. So moving on here, man, couple of newcomers. I'll be honest, I didn't do tape on this fight. Daniel Tamor, the brother of David Tamor, minus 220, taking on Danny Henry, plus 180. Obviously, Daniel Tamor, the Swede here. David Tamor's older brother, 6-0. Danny Henry, the Scotsman, the home country guy, 10-2. Based on the little research I did here, Daniel Tamor probably is he's the better fighter with the better wins. If his striking is anything like his brother's, he should probably take Danny Henry's head off here. But this is all me talking without having done the proper tape study. I'd say the lines are probably accurate. Not much more I can say, man. Just going to be honest. I didn't do the tape here. So I'm going to go with Daniel Tamor. I think he gets it done via TKO. I'll say late in the first, early in the second. So moving on here, man, to the fight I just did tape on just like 5 minutes ago, right before I started this. You got Galore Baffondo, minus 220, taking on Charlie Ward, plus 180. Man, Galore Baffondo. So this is interesting. So the guy, he's super inactive. This guy Galore Baffondo is, I'm excited for this man's debut. So he's 4-2, which doesn't look that great, right? But then you look at his record, those 2 losses were both disqualifications, which means he was probably beating the hell out of these guys and through an illegal strike, got disqualified. So I didn't see those fights, but I'm assuming this guy should probably be 6-0. And based off what I saw in this guy, extremely athletic, built the fuck up, great striking, and I think we know what we're getting with Charlie Ward. I think Charlie Ward is probably one of the worst fighters in the UFC, if I'm being quite honest here. So the thing is, I wanted to parlay up Galore Buffando, but real concern here, his last fight was February of 2015, so about a year and 2.5 years ago. And his last fight before that 2015 fight was in 2012. So in the past 5 years, he's had 1 fight. So I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know if he's taking time off to improve. I'm pretty sure the guy's still young. So I don't know, man. I do think they gave him an extremely favorable matchup here in Charlie Ward, though. Charlie Ward is not good at all, to say it in the nicest way possible. I think Gloria Buffando is going to just starch Charlie Ward early, in my opinion. He's got the much more technical striking. He's going to go out there. He's the more athletic guy. He's the quicker guy. He's the stronger guy. He's going to hit Charlie Ward with something huge and probably put him down real early. I was looking at the under for this fight. It is minus 140, so I'm probably not going to go ahead and hit that anytime soon unless that becomes plus money. Like I said, I really don't want to parlay up Galore Buffando just because more than a minus 200 on a UFC debut and such a long layoff, that's a little sketchy to me. But the only thing I will consider playing here, if Galore Buffando via KO/TKO is plus money, which I don't think it will be, it'll probably be in that minus 140 range. I'll play it. I'll put a unit on that if it's plus money, but I doubt it will be. So this fight's probably going to be a pass for me. But Galore Buffando first round KO is my pick. So moving on here, man. This is a play for me, man. We got Alexandre Pantoja minus 350 taking on Neil 2-tap Siri plus 290. And man, so Neil 2-tap Siri, this is indeed his retirement fight. And you know me, guys, I love to fade these retiring fighters, and this is not a situation of Brad Pickett versus Marlon Chito Vera. Marlon Chito Vera, don't get me wrong, I bet on him against Brad Pickett, and he came through for me. He's not that great of a fighter, just to be plain out honest. Alexandre Pantoja is a fucking killer and absolutely a top 15 flyweight guy. The guy was ranked number 1 on that flyweight tough season for a damn good reason. This guy's no joke. He's got it on the feet. He's got it on the ground. He's much younger than Siri. Realistically speaking, he's got pretty much everything going for him in this fight. I have an extremely hard time seeing Neil Siri win this fight other than just an absolute bullshit robbery for the retiring guy. Man, I think Pantoja can win this fight on the feet. I think he can land takedowns. I think he can sub the guy. I think he can grind him out. I'm trying to see a realistic path of victory for Siri. I just don't see it. I mean, I think what a lot of people will say is going to happen is that Neil Siri could possibly outstrike Pantoja on the feet, but Pantoja, people overlook his striking just because of his grappling is so good, but the dude can bang. The dude's got striking skills, so I love this fight from every possible perspective, man. I think he's better than Siri everywhere. I think he's the young guy with a whole career ahead of him, fighting a guy who is retiring, who's basically a 500 fighter in the first place. So easy money on Alexandre Pantoja here. I do have him in a 4-unit 2-leg parlay with somebody later in the card. I'm going to go with Pantoja. I will say I'm going to give Neil Siri the benefit of the doubt and say he hangs in there for 3 rounds. I got Pantoja via a 30 27 decision. Next up, super fun fight, man, that I'm glad I'm passing and I can just sit back and watch this one because I think this has fight of the night written all over it. We got Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts minus 200 taking on Bobby Nash plus 170. So, man, I think it's pretty clear that Hot Chocolate. I do think the line is just about correct right now. I think that's lined perfectly. Hot Chocolate minus 200, 2-1 favorite. I think it's pretty clear he's like more technical, athletic, just more refined fighter here with the better skills. But the thing is, Danny Roberts, the chin is a big question mark. Bobby Nash is a guy who can hit extremely hard, a guy who's willing to take 2 punches to give 1. I think this is going to be a fight to where Danny Roberts probably wins all 3 rounds, maybe just 2. But and he shows that he's the better fighter. But I would not be surprised if he were to be wobbled once or twice or even 3 times throughout this fight, maybe even knocked out, man. So I don't know, man. This is tough. I think Bobby Nash. I think this is probably dog or pass here. I don't hate a play on Bobby Nash actually at all, man. I think I can see Danny Roberts going in there and getting hit with something huge, man. So I'm gonna go with Danny Roberts. I think he's the better fighter, and I want to go with the better fighter, especially. He's a European fighter fighting in Europe. He's going to have the crowd behind him. Maybe there's a little home cooking. I just feel like he has a little bit more going for him. So I'll go with Danny Roberts via a 29-28 decision, but it's a big old pass for me, man. This fight is a definition of a pass, in my opinion. I recommend you guys to pass too and sit back and watch this one because it's going to be super, super fun. So moving on to this main card here, man. Couple of newcomers didn't do tape here, man. I figured you guys would probably give me a pass on passing on these old fatty newcomers here. So we got Justin Willis minus 210 taking on James Muleron. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Either way, Willis, the American, James is fighting out of England. So yeah, I didn't do tape on this fight, but both these guys are they're big boys to say the least. Justin Willis trains at AKA. James, I'm not 100% sure. I'm literally doing research on this fight like right now as I'm doing my breakdown. As you can see, I'm extremely professional, but yeah, I don't even know where James trains, but I guess I mean, I don't think the line's right. I don't think Justin should probably be that big of a favorite, but just based on him training at AKA, I'm going to go ahead and say that he's the more technical fighter and he's going to have the better game plan, and I think that might be all it takes. I'm interested to see what the over 1.5 rounds here is, man, because I always like betting the over on these fat heavyweights. It's minus 130. If it gets to plus 100, that might be something, but I'd have to do tape before laying the money on that. I know both these guys have high finish rates anyway, but you never know. So, yeah, man, I guess I'll go with Justin Willis via, I'll say a 3rd round TKO, but don't tail me on that. Did not do tape for this one. But moving on here, I love this fight. I've been so excited for this fight since it's been announced, and you guys might be surprised by that because I don't think either of these guys really are ever really top 10 potential. But we got Khalil Roundtree minus 225 taking on Paul Craig plus 185. So I've bet Paul Craig his first 2 UFC fights. First time it worked out for me with that plus 230 over Frankenstein. Last time out did not work out too well against Tyson Pedro. And here, man, if the line gets up to plus 220, I may take that. If Paul Craig via sub is a real good number, I may take that. That all being said, I do think that the line should be pick'em here. I think this should be a pick'em fight. But I hate to say it because I'm a big fan of Craig. I'm going to ever so slightly lean with Khalil Roundtree here, man, just because, simply only because of the fact that the fight starts in his realm. This is the most clear example of a striker versus grappler ever, in my opinion. Obviously, Khalil Roundtree, dude's got no ground game. Dude's got very limited wrestling. But the guy can strike, and the guy can throw bombs. Paul Craig, he just got pretty fucked up in his last fight. Who knows if he's had enough time to recover. But the dude can grapple, and the dude can get the fight down to the ground. But there is a lot left to be desired in the striking. Thing is, for me here, man, I feel like Paul Craig can probably hang on the feet with Khalil a little bit, to where I don't think Khalil can hang on the ground with Craig at all. So I would be very careful betting Khalil Roundtree here if you like him. Minus 225, I think that's terrible. I think this is 100 at this point, 100% dog or pass. I know some people like my boy UFC Bro Picks, Justin. He got a very good line on Khalil, and sure, man, if you like Khalil, I guess that line wasn't too bad to get. I believe it was, I want to say it was pretty damn good, like minus 140, minus 130. But yeah, I'll change my pick. I'm going to go with Paul Craig here, just because I like him more, and I feel like he could hang on the feet with Khalil a little bit, to where Khalil can't hang on the ground at all. But by no means a confident pick. I think this fight should be pick'em. So I think the odds are off, and might bet on Paul Craig. But moving on here, man, we got a pretty fun fight. We got Jack Marshman minus. Let me see here. Best fight odds, always switching up the order on me. Jack Marshman up to minus 470, taking on Ryan James plus 375. Well, this is pretty clear, man. I think Jack Marshman, he showed that he's got very elite boxing. The dude is a great boxer. He's excellent striker. Ryan James showed that he can take a punch, but he doesn't have that great of striking. So in the Keith Barish fight, basically, he beat Keith Barish on the feet. He was able to absorb shots and give shots back, and he slightly got that decision. He showed off a good chin there, but that's also a good chin against Keith Barish. Jack Marshman, a very, a lot more technical striker, and a lot more hard-hitting of a striker. A guy that finished Magnus Siedenblad, a very good fighter. I think Jack Marshman should have zero problems stuffing takedowns here, if James even decides to go for them. And I don't think it's close whatsoever on the feet, man. I may be just completely oblivious, but I think this is Marshman all damn day. I think Ryan James, maybe he relies on that chin a little too much, and he feels in the back of his head that his chin will be able to hold up and he'll be able to give shots back, use his range, eventually score takedowns. But I think Jack Marshman could end this one quick, guys. And this is a thought I just recently had. Like, for the past week, I've been thinking Marshman by decision. Now I think he fucking lights Ryan James up and finishes him in the first. So I got Jack Marshman via a first round KO here, man. I think he hits super hard, and I think the difference between the striking abilities of each guy is just gigantic. So I got Jack Marshman first round KO, and he does indeed complete that 4-unit parlay with Pantoja. So I got 4 units on Pantoja Marshman at I forgot the line I got on that, but it's to win 3.14 units. I'll look in a second. Was it minus 120 something? Minus 127, I want to say. Minus 127 to win 3.14 units. 4 units risk there, man. So 4 units on a parlay. Obviously, I'm extremely confident. But yeah, I got Marshman first round KO. Moving on here, man, we got Stevie Ray minus 135 taking on Paul the Irish Dragon Felder plus 115. Stevie Ray here in his hometown or his home country of Scotland, I should say. But I think this is. I don't think this is a good fight for him, man. I think Paul Felder is the real deal, and I know he just beat Alex Ricci, but I feel like sure that doesn't really show much, I guess, to beat a guy like Alex Ricci, but I do think that'll give some confidence to not Paul Craig, Paul Felder. I think Paul Felder is he just started with Rufus Sport a fight or two ago. He just put on an amazing performance against Alex Ricci. I feel like he's got some miles under him at a great camp that fits him pretty well now, and he's got some confidence after just completely dusting Alex Ricci. So I honestly think we're going to see the very best Paul Felder that we've seen in this fight, man. And Stevie Ray, I like Stevie Ray, man. He's a lot of heart. He's a tough, tough dude, and he does have some decent striking of his own. But the dude just went life and death with Joe Lozon. Joe Lozon, a guy who's a little bit past his prime. Paul Felder is a guy who is absolutely 100% in his prime. If Paul Felder is going to make a run, and it's going to be right now, I think he gets it done, man. I think Stevie Ray, maybe he's tough enough to hang in there for 3 rounds, but I think Paul Felder has him outgunned, man. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the bigger guy. I think there's going to be, I mean, obviously you can't bank on this, and I wouldn't hate on somebody for saying this, but I think the problems of being hesitant and not pulling the trigger are going to be gone. I think he's going to go in there and be very aggressive, and I think he can get the job done. I don't see Stevie Ray finishing this fight. Paul Felder's got a good chin. The only time he hasn't been finished, but there was the Trinaldo fight where the cut happened. I don't see anything like that happening here. So if you're going to bet Stevie Ray by decision, I would highly recommend that. That's probably going to be like minus or plus 160 maybe. But at the dog price, I love Paul Felder. I think he wins. I think he should be somewhere in like the minus 170 range. That all being said, 2 units, Paul Felder, plus 110 to win 2.20 units. So 2 dogs on this card for me, guys. Paul Felder and Albert Morales. I think Paul Felder, like I said, man, all the reasons I said, I think he's got his confidence back. I think he's got more miles down on him in this new camp that I think is great for him. I think he's the more technical, better striker than Stevie anyways, the bigger guy. I think this is a tough matchup for Stevie. I'm surprised Paul Felder's the dog, man, and I fully expect to cash 2.20 units on the Irish Dragon here. So moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we got Cynthia Calvillo minus 210 taking on Joanne Calderwood plus 175. So interesting, man. I did not expect Calvillo to be this big of a favorite. Like I said, with the Paul Craig Khalil Roundtree fight, I think this is another pretty clear striker versus grappler matchup. But this one is a little different in my opinion because I think Cynthia Calvillo, she's making the strides with the striking, and I think she can strike. I'm not saying she's going to outstrike Joanne Calderwood, but I think she can hold her own, and she can do enough to where she can land takedowns by throwing stuff out there and keeping Joanne guessing. I think maybe Joanne is going to think Cynthia is going to come out with the takedowns, guns blazing, just looking for the takedown immediately. But I think Cynthia might surprise her, throw some strikes, and then work for a takedown eventually, maybe after Joanne gets the better of her, because Joanne is the better striker here, and that's pretty clear. I don't see any debate against that. Only thing is that's worrying for Joanne Calderwood, that 115-pound cut is getting tougher every single time. She's a pretty clear 125-pounder. It's crazy that she can make that weight. But I favor Cynthia here. I think she can mix up some strikes to where she can land the takedown comfortably. And I think when she gets Joanne down, maybe she won't sub her, but I think she can absolutely easily control. She can control rounds. I got Cynthia via, I'll say, a 30-27 decision here. I'll give Joanne the benefit of the doubt and say she survives. Yeah, man, I got Cynthia. I think the line's a little off. I lined Cynthia somewhere around like minus 170, so minus 210 is a little crazy. She was minus 270 yesterday or 2 days ago, which is nuts, man. I was even considering taking the shot on Calderwood, but decided to pass there. But I got Cynthia, man. I think she gets it done. I think obviously she's got the great grappling, but she's pretty great at getting it there too. So and she's ever improving. She's super young, man. She's 5-0. She's training at Team Alpha Male. I think she's got a lot of things going for her. The way Dana White spoke about her, he's impressed with the girl. And I got Cynthia. I'll say 30-27 decision. So guys, moving on to the main event of the evening, we got Gunnar Nelson minus 160 taking on Santiago Ponzinibio plus 140. I know there was a lot of people that was tweeting me saying they're excited to hear me talk about this fight because I am going to come out and say it. I do have the biggest bet I've ever made, man. I do have 8 units on Gunnar Nelson at minus 180 to win 4.48 units. So I fully expect to cash this, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't put a big, gigantic bet down. But I love Gunnar Nelson here, man. And I know there's a lot of people questioning how I could be so confident on Gunnar Nelson, but I question how they're not confident on Gunnar Nelson. So, I mean, I'll get to all that. But, man, so Gunnar Nelson, a lot of people want to just talk about his grappling. Everyone's pretty much admitted here that he is the better grappler than Santiago Ponzinibio, and if he gets it to the ground, he's most likely going to finish. Most people will admit that, and I think that's what's going to happen, but everyone is just, I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of people in the line movement will indicate that a lot of people think that Santiago Ponzinibio can go out there and outstrike Gunnar Nelson, but I don't think they quite understand what Gunnar Nelson brings to the table with his movement, his awkwardness. The guy is super, like, Gunnar Nelson's a special dude, man. Like, he's really a pleasure to watch. I'm a huge fan of Gunnar Nelson. He's actually and this is no bias. I don't want people to think I'm biased. Like, as a betting man, Gunnar Nelson is my favorite fighter in the UFC right now, simply because he's getting matchups like Santiago Ponzinibio, like Alan Jouban. I think Gunnar Nelson is a top 5 fighter. I think Santiago Ponzinibio, at very, very, very best, is somewhere between 15 and 20. Gunnar Nelson is a true martial artist, man, and back to what I was saying earlier, a lot of people think Santiago is the better striker and will be able to outstrike Gunnar Nelson. I disagree, man. I really disagree. And people have said this over the last, people keep saying this over and over. Oh, Brandon Thatch, he'll outstrike Gunnar Nelson. Oh, Albert Tumanov, he's going to outstrike Gunnar Nelson. Oh, Alan Jouban, he'll outstrike Gunnar Nelson. And meanwhile, those people would say, oh, if it goes to the ground, Gunnar's going to submit them. Gunnar outstruck all 3 of those guys, and I would say Santiago and Alan Jouban striking is around even. Even Brandon Thatch, I think they're all around the same when it comes to their striking abilities. Albert Tumanov is one of the best strikers in mixed martial arts, in my opinion. A lot of people disagreed with me on that, but I think Tumanov is the real deal. He obviously just lacks a lot of the wrestling and ground game, but Gunnar Nelson outstruck a great striker, and I think he'll have no problem doing that again here. I've seen people talk all fucking week saying that Santiago Ponzinibio is the much bigger guy with the bigger reach. Go watch those stare downs, guys. Gunnar Nelson looked bigger than Santiago Ponzinibio. I think Gunnar Nelson, basically what's going to happen here, first round is going to be the closest round for sure. He's going to use a lot of that awkward movement. He's going to make Santiago whiff. He's going to make him miss. Gunnar's going to counter him. Second round comes along. Santiago gets a little frustrated, starts swinging more at the air, starts getting countered a little more, makes a mistake. Gunnar gets that takedown. Gunnar gets a neck. Gunnar gets a tap. So I got Gunnar Nelson via a second round rear naked choke submission, specifically a rear naked choke. I love Gunnar here, man. I'm comfortable if this fight stays on the feet. I think he can outstrike Santiago over the course of 5 rounds here. I'm not all 5 rounds. The main concern here, and an advantage that Ponzinibio does have, is the cardio. But that all being said, if it goes to 5 rounds, I think Gunnar can do enough to win the first 3. So if it goes to the decision, I think Gunnar's got that too. I think Santiago, really his only path to victory here is if he If he's to weather a storm, if Gunnar's to hurt him, Gunnar were to waste a lot of energy, Santiago, he'll probably be the fresher guy. Probably TKO's Gunnar in that fourth or fifth round. That's really the only way I see Santiago winning this fight. A lot of people saying Santiago can just go out there and knock Gunnar's head off in the first or second round. I mentioned all these killers Gunnar Nelson has fought. The dude has 18 fights, never has came close to getting knocked out. Never has came close to getting TKO'd at all. Man, and if you want to do MMA math, absolutely is bullshit. Some of the time, you can't rely on it for sure, but a lot of the time, I like to use math when it comes to a certain aspect of the game. So if I were to use striking math here, so Santiago Ponzinibio, he got outstruck by Lorenz Larkin. Lorenz Larkin and Albert Tumanov had a pretty dead even 3-round striking match. Gunnar Nelson outstruck Albert Tumanov. So if you just want to use those little ladders of striking technical abilities, I think Gunnar Nelson's the man. I think he's a true martial artist with striking and ground game, and I like him wherever this fight goes. I could literally talk all day about how confident I am about this pick. Love Gunnar here. 8 units. Minus 180. It sucks that I didn't wait. I had no idea the line was going to get better for him, but I'm happy, man. I fully expect to cash these 4.48 units. I love Gunnar here, but that's going to do it for me, guys. I kind of rambled on a little bit. I apologize for not doing the tape on those 2 fights, but something tells me you guys probably don't care too much about those fights anyway. But appreciate you all watching very, very much. You can follow me at on Twitter at MMAKelton. You can subscribe to my channel. Comment below. Tell me who you're betting on. And also, I want to know how long you've been subbed to the channel. I'm interested to see how some of you guys answer that. You can follow my bets at BetMMATips/MMAKelton, CapperTech, MMAKelton. Pretty much everything is MMAKelton. I'm down to talk fights with just about anybody. Appreciate you guys all very much, man. It's been a very busy and crazy last few weeks for me, so appreciate all the love and support that a lot of you guys send me. But that's gonna do it for me. Above all, enjoy these fights Sunday.